Welcome back. My name is Kevin Brandon. In the previous two videos showing you how to create a button inside of Figma, I showed you how to create a button with auto layout to get responsive text inside of the button. I've shown you how to create a main component to create design consistency, as well as create a faster way to edit the text inside of all the button instances that you've got created. And in this video, what I want to show you is how to create an interactive button. So creating a hover or a click state. To begin with, I've got my main component already created here, and what I need to do is I need to create some variants in here, some differences. So I'm simply going to go to my properties panel with the main component selected and click the add variant button. And now that this is created, this means that I've got the ability to change the properties here, and I'm going to simply change the properties by maybe changing the background color and maybe make it a little bit lighter. So when somebody hovers over top of the button, it's going to look like this. And then maybe I'm going to add another one here for on click. So I've got a button here, and maybe I'm going to change the colors completely. Maybe I'm going to say, let's change that background and let's make it a dark background, and let's change the text. So I select the text, and let's go and grab the same color as the original background of the button at the top here. So now I've got three different variants here, or I've got three different button designs here. The first button I'm going to take a look at, and if I do some housekeeping here in the properties panel, I can see this is property 1. I prefer the name state, so I'm simply going to double click property 1 and change it to state. And default works perfectly fine for me. If I've changed state there, then all the rest of the buttons now say state, which is perfect. I'm going to change where it says variant 2 now, just because I want to speak English, and type in hover. So I'm going to type in hover. There's the hover state. I'm going to select the last variant here. Instead of variant 3, I'm going to say this is the click state. So I've done the design now for this button, and I've got three different states here that I want, three different variants. I'm going to then add the interaction to this. So the design is first, and the interaction comes second. So going to my prototype mode, I can simply either hover over these icons here and simply click and drag the blue plus icon and drag it where I would like it to go. I'm going to go from this button to this button. Pops up my interaction menu for me. It says on click. No, I want this to be while hovering. While hovering, change to, the hover state, perfect. And instead of instant, I'm going to do smart animate because I've done a little bit of color change. I want just a little bit of subtlety here, and ease out 300 milliseconds. I'll leave the default for right now. Again, that can be changed at any point in time with the options that you have available in Figma. The next thing I want to do is I want to take this button here and just show you another way. I can go to my properties panel, click on the interactions plus icon to add the interaction here. And I can say this time on click. For the action, change to, and instead of hover, I'm going to say click. And I can change that to a smart animate as well. And now the last part I want to do is I want to say if somebody clicks on this button again, it's going to go back to the original default. So I can either click and drag or add an interaction, whichever way I'd like. So on click again, change to default, smart animate, looks good. So those are some of the basics there of creating an interactive button. Now, just because I've shown you how to do this, I'm going to go back to my page 1. I've got a bunch of buttons here, and they don't, when I hover over them, nothing really happens. If I go to design view, nothing really happens. So what I need to do in Figma is I need to simply go and preview this. So there's present, preview. I'm going to choose present now. It's going to open up in a new tab, and it's going to allow me to hover over the buttons and see if there's any changes. So there's my buttons, and now when I hover over them, great changes for each one of them. Click, changes to black, click. And if I click again, it changes it back and gives me my hover again. So that's ways that I can create consistent interaction between buttons and make sure this is exactly the way that I want it to look. If I don't need the hover interactions, then I might want to create a second button in my main components, one just for a button that doesn't interact and another one for the buttons that do interact. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that ties those three videos together. First of all, how to create an auto layout button. Second, create a main component with a text property to make editing the text easier. And third, how to create the main component and add the variants, which will give you my interactions when I add the interactions using the prototype mode. Thanks for watching. Hope that makes sense. Hopefully I'm providing some solutions for you. Thank you.